In this video, I'm going to show you how to reconfigure an existing mid server to point to a new instance. The reasoning for this might be that you only have one mid server in your environment, or you only have the ability to have one mid server as because of resource constraint within your environment. Whatever the case may be, we're going to go over the configuration file and the ability to change it. Best practice would be that you'd want to have mid server per each instance, but we're going to go ahead and take the scenario and we're going to run with it. So just to verify, we have no mid servers currently associated to this instance. We're going to go ahead and show that there are no mid servers. Now, we're going to go over to the Windows box where I currently have a mid server installed, and I can actually go through and navigate to get there. As you can see, here it is. And we want to go ahead and stop the service on this box so that we don't corrupt the configuration files. So let's go ahead and we're going to go to Services. And I can select in here, hit S, and it'll take me down to where the actual service is running. So we'll go ahead and stop. Excuse me. So we're going to minimize because we're going to come back to that and restart it. But in this case, I like to go ahead and I'm going to copy this config file. I never like to do anything and just write over the original. So we'll paste a copy, and then I'll rename this one. You can use any editor. I prefer Notepad++. So we're going to go in here. And one thing to show, right, is this line 20, the URL. I currently was pointed to this particular instance, but we want to point it to this new instance. So what I'm going to do, I'll go ahead and type in here 959. And it should correlate with obviously this first or the prefix of your URL. The next thing you're going to want to pay attention to is the username and the password. Now, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and leave it as midserver01. I've entered that user into this instance, and therefore I'll just keep consistency throughout. The next thing is I did change the password though, and as you can see, the current password is encrypted, and that's not a big deal. Anytime that you start the service for the mid server, it actually, based on this encryption true, will auto encrypt whatever you put here in freeform. So in this case, I'll go ahead and put in password 01. That is the password. And then this is the name of the mid server right here on this line 32. You can change it. I'm not going to. I'm going to keep consistency between my previous instance of this one and just leave it as midserver01. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and save this, close it. Let's close here. And one thing to keep in mind, especially with the newer versions of ServiceNow, there's this folder called Key Store. That's, if you've worked with mid servers at all, especially in the newer instances, or newest versions of ServiceNow, the key store is what holds that validation key. You've probably had to validate a mid server, and if that's the case, you want to make sure to clear that out before you try to start the service and have it communicate up with the new instance. Otherwise, what's going to occur is you're going to get an error in the logs of this mid server that basically states, hey, go ahead and delete the key store because you're not connecting up to the same instance as you were previously. So that's food for thought. In this case, I know that, so I will go ahead and delete. We have the configuration. I'm going to jump over here to the actual services, and I'm going to restart the mid server. So in this case, start because it was already stopped. So now what should occur, and we can actually go over here to the logs really fast, is it should start communicating up with our instance. Now, these are locked files. So you probably just saw me kind of hold control and make a copy. That is the only way, unless you use some sort of software to be able to look at locked files, that you'll have an opportunity to be able to open it. So in this case, I did that. Let's go ahead and I brought up my editor. Let's scroll down through. I see no errors or warnings, so that is definitely great. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to clean up this because I just like to clean up after myself here. So I'll close that folder, and I'm going to go ahead and close out the services, empty recycling bin, and jump over here to our instance. Now inside our instance, if I hit all, there we go. There's our mid server. It's synchronized up, but one thing to keep in mind, it's not validated yet. So if you were to attempt to utilize the mid server to do discovery, orchestration, anything of that fashion, you would get a big fat no. So let's go ahead and go in here, and what we're going to do is we're going to validate it. Let's go ahead and click validate, and we're going to allow for everything. This is a dev instance, but in the case of production, you could minimize your mid-server footprint by specifying certain capabilities that it has. But for pretty much just the default across the board, go with all. It's not going to harm anything, and you can kind of trim back as needed. So it looks like everything went through. Let's go ahead and go over to our mid servers here, and it is validated. Here's our mid server, and we look to be in business. So until the next video, take care.